Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there in the world. It's time for another episode of the SoundTraxx Soundbites podcast. This is the train talk from milepost 141. Now, I want to do a couple of things here first. For those of you watching on video, and so then for you listening on audio, I've got Tom over here, and Tom Austin is our new support rep. And we'll get into his story in a minute. But what I wanted to first show off is that we're both wearing these brand new 35th anniversary t-shirts that you can get at SoundTraxx.com. So be sure to check those out on the website. Get your shirt. They are very limited and they're going fast, so you want to hurry up and make sure to get yours now. But anyway, so with all of that, there's been a lot going on. As you can see, Tom's sitting here next to me, and I'm very excited to introduce Tom because he's our new support rep, and he will be helping out with all of the support questions, calls, emails, and everything else. As you guys know, my name's George Bogatuk. Been with SoundTraxx now for a little over 16 and a half years. It's crazy how time flies. And the best part is, I haven't worked a day in 16 and a half years. And this guy now knows what I'm talking about because I've known Tom for quite a few years now.
Yes, sir.
And so when the opportunity came up, he jumped. And so, Tom, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your modeling history, your interest, and what brought you to SoundTraxx?
Well, basically, I've been modeling and trained since 1982. It started with Atlas Blue Box, like a lot of people did, and learned my way through the initial stages of running the trains and just run them around in a circle and that kind of stuff, and then getting into custom painting, decaling, and then details West introduced me into quite a few things about adding the details specific to Missouri Pacific, which was my hometown railroad in West Frankfort, Illinois, and that's how I got kind of hooked on the Mopac, kind of like George is here too.
Yeah, that wasn't a job requirement though,
No.
modeling the Missouri Pacific, but it was sure an added bonus. So we're going to have a lot of fun modeling this stuff. The only challenge is I figured out we're going to have a lot of similar models with the mass-produced stuff. We're going to find a way to make sure we identify each other's engines.
Yeah, well, it's easy. Yours look better. Mine look like, this one here looks right, like brand new out of the boxes, other than the interior components, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yep.
It is. So
Gotcha.
But, and in fact, our boss said that, when I explained to her about the Mopac Mafia idea, she said, there's other railroads besides Mopac. And I said, there is?
Right, there you go.
But I focused my modeling on the Southern Illinois, my hometown, my home area, the coal mines, and I've done a lot of product research for various manufacturers, including Atlas, helping them in particular with these engines and several other Missouri Pacific models over the years. Quite proud of this one actually with the added details that are MOP or Mopac specific, with like the handrails being solid in the front and the rear, and the pilots on this one being closed off without the oval cutouts, which were on the earlier releases. We also made some upgrades to the font on the numbers on the side of the 20-inch numerals on the post 1974 Mopac paint scheme, and they even got the
Bring that in a little closer on the camera because I think you were off camera there. We can go ahead and bring in the B-roll here.
We put the truss plates on it too, and even researched the lettering on that. It is, you can read it with magnification.
It's amazing what they're doing with models nowadays.
And then this one here, 1555, of course, was the class engine, the first GP15-1 that Mopac had, and it's riding on trade-in trucks. And you can tell by looking at them that each of the axles have a different, like a slope journal. One has a box journal. One has a Hyatt.
Yeah.
And they went basically off pictures of the actual locomotive to get this exactly the way it is. The engine itself has the standard Genesis drive in it, but I bought these DCC ready when George and SoundTraxx announced Blunami. I wanted to put Blunami in these. Of course, they were delayed because they're like a lot of overseas products and stuff. Sometimes there are delays in manufacturing, and that's okay. No, it was the same here. So this has the Blunami 21-pin decoder in it, and it has a scale sound system speaker in it. It has the all the lighting functions and stuff from Atlas, and then I added as George got me hooked on that, is I've got the ground lights in it underneath the front truck, under by the bolsters there. So it's really a nice model. Very happy to have them, and very grateful to Athearn for allowing the input, and of course taking the input and bringing it to the market. So couldn't say more about that.
Well, so I'll say for our partners out there that Athearn really spends the time to try to make the models as accurate as possible. They do reach out to the historical societies and people in the know, so they can add the small details like that. And that's part of also kind of, I'll allude into this, why they stick with SoundTraxx products is because they understand the decoder they're getting.
That's right.
Anybody can make a noisemaker. You can even open a greeting card nowadays that plays sound for you.
That's right.
And so, but because of our sound system being an interactive sound system, they've stuck with it and they've continued it, even with the manufacturing challenges of, us building here and having to ship overseas for their assembly. There's always kind of logistics like that are always in play. And so that's the commitment Athearn has made to bringing the best model out there. And it shows because these things here, if it wasn't for Blunami, I'd have taken it right out of the box.
That's right. I mean, you've got basically the detail and the fidelity match the decoder, which you can, with the SoundTraxx decoder and the Blunami in particular, adds another level of versatility to it. Programming wise, it's a breeze. And then, the way you can set the locomotive up, of course, as you know, George, you can make it run and operate just like the real thing. And you can make the sounds exactly where you want them. You can program each individual CV the way you want it on your railroad with your locomotive fleet.
Yep, absolutely.
And nobody else can say that.
That is very true. So, well, you kind of skipped from personal introduction into showing off your model. So let's get back.
Athearn did most of the work. All I did was do the interior work on that.
So you modeled since you were 82-ish. We'll say ish because.
Right.
And so have you built layouts over in the past?
I built a couple. I built like 3 large home layouts when I lived in Centralia, Illinois. I built a couple of layouts. They're based on the same area, Missouri Pacific's Japa Sub, which was the ex-Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad in Southern Illinois, which basically was a coal or mineral feeder. It had a large industry, a Japa power plant at Japa, Illinois.
Okay.
And it had a cement plant down there as well. There were several local industries along the way, like farm implement dealerships, and of course the 2 large coal mines just south of West Frankfort, which will be the bread and butter of where I saw these engines and got me, like I said earlier, hooked on the Missouri Pacific.
Yeah, because you mentioned to me also the 15s are your favorite locomotive too.
Absolutely.
Which is funny because I've always considered that my
favorite.
That
was not a job requirement either. So put that in there as well. But yeah, we just happen to both like the same. These engines were ran by Missouri Pacific, my hometown. When I would go downtown on the weekends, when my dad would come home from work, so he worked away from home, we'd ride downtown, and then the depot sat right there on Main Street. You always saw at least 3 of these things sitting there, and they had Jeep 38-2s, Jeep 38s, and then later on the GE B23-7s were there as well.
Way to spoil the surprise.
Yes.
It's hiding behind the other locomotive for a reason.
This is
we'll get to that in a second.
Our friend Kevin Love, these are some of his favorite units, and Kevin's going to love that.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
We'll have to make sure Kevin watches this. Okay, so you were at a point in your life where you had retired. You had been previously a corrections officer. Is that correct?
Corrections officer, Bureau of Identification technician, and then later assistant warden of operations. Okay. When I retired with 27 years in, yeah.
Nice. So he found himself in an opportunity to pick up and move, and basically pick up his life, come out here with his myriad or harem of cats.
Right, Pride.
The Pride.
Leo's the leader of the cats.
His Pride.
Yeah, I ended up, unfortunately, divorced in 2023, and then later kind of set out on my own, restarted my life. Mm-hmm. This job came open once, and then Norm got it, and which Norm did a great
job.
That was
when Graham started.
Well, yeah. Well, Norm got it first. I looked at it twice.
I didn't realize you. Okay.
I looked at it twice, and then Graham got it the second time.
Okay.
And what had happened is I had not put my resume in time to get it reviewed, and then it came open again, and I had put it in there, but it was late. Yeah. And then SoundTraxx called me back and asked me if I was still interested. I said sure. Yeah. Because I've always wanted to work in the industry, and I've always liked. Loved the hobby, and then I couldn't think of a better place or a more beautiful place to live than Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've always wanted to live in Colorado. Anyways, I'm very grateful, and I can say right now, at least honestly, I've been here a couple weeks, but I haven't worked a day in 2 weeks. Yeah. So even though I basically still retired, it's just they're paying me now to do this. But
You're gonna give away the secret here.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to Nancy and George here and all the folks here at SoundTraxx. Made me feel really welcome. It's a beautiful area, and I'm grateful to get started, and I still got a lot to learn. So when you guys want to reach out and ask for tech support, I'll do the best I can. I'll probably sometimes have to look it up more times than not, or ask this guy right here, because he is like the encyclopedia of not only SoundTraxx, but of DCC. I mean, frontwards, backwards, upwards, downwards, you got it. I mean, I know I can just literally get up, put the person, can I put you on hold, walk right across to the next office, George. And I tell Missy, goes, yeah, you got to do this, 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 this. And I can get back over there and just polypair it back to the person, and then they're on the right track. And that way, as I learn, I'll be able to hopefully do the same thing that he does. But in the meantime, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to work, and I'm here to help everybody out there enjoy your SoundTraxx products and model railroading.
And that was a great asset, because one of the benefits of having you on board was the fact that you've been a modeler for a long time. So you understand the hobby, you understand, kind of what the customer expects and what the customer end goal is when they're doing the models. So you have that perspective. So I didn't have to teach you the difference between, say, a GP15 and a 484 steam locomotive.
Correct.
So that definitely speeds it up. And then with your experience, you've known the models as they've progressed over the years. So if somebody came over and said, hey, I've got an Atlas GP38 from the early 90s or whatever, that you probably pretty much know how to direct them. So that's a good asset to have.
Yes, we're all struggle with you folks that are out there listening and watching. Is I'll have to check some of the older models, like some of the steam engines and stuff. That's a little bit outside my realm right now, but I am working on that, and I'm cramming for a test on that, so to speak. But I go home and watch things at night and watch the videos, and I also read up on the locomotives that we need to be focusing on.
So he's always been a diesel modeler, so that's one of the things. So we're trying to get him more affectionate towards steam engines.
They're beautiful.
Being here, we've got the steam engines right down the road. We'll make sure we get you on those.
Yeah, and it's easy. I mean, it'd be easy for me to take the cop out and say, well, George knows Model and Mopac. They didn't save any of their steam engines, so we don't even have any heritage engines to look at, like the Union Pacific or other railroads like that.
Right.
So I think they got the front of one at Duplo, Illinois. That's all they saved.
Yeah,
and that's it. But that's no excuse. I'm reading the manuals, and I'm checking out dynamos and feed water heaters and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump into modeling now. Now you've been playing with this for a little bit. You said you added the ground lights underneath.
Yep.
Whose lights did you use on that?
Nick's trains.
Nick's.
I bought basically the set that he has, and I bought the kit. So I drilled mine out.
Okay.
And what I did is I drill them out, and I leave them on the sprue, and then I paint them because it's going on a painted model. I just paint them True Color Jinx Blue.
Yep.
Put a clear coat of like a matte or a flat to match what Athearn has on here. I use Tamiya's lacquer because it seems to give a really nice sheen even on the paint. So Tamiya's lacquer paint and their lacquer thinner, and then you can't really see the lights, are so small. You see them when they light up. But anyway, it's just the idea that you're doing.
No, but that's why I like seeing his lights in there, because when you look at the models, you see those little funnel-shaped looking curved things under there that for years I've been adding as detail parts, and didn't realize what it was until, as of course I got more into the lighting and everything. So it definitely does help those locos stand out. And you said you got Blunami in there, so go ahead and put it on the track and let's just take it for a run. Now the challenge here is I also have 1555, and so like I said, we'll have to do a model contest, see which one's better.
I already know. It's yours. Mine's not weathered or anything yet. It's just
I don't think I've even weathered mine like that.
It's set in the box while when I put this in there, I ran it and then put it back in the box and then I moved.
Go ahead and do the screen record.
Okay.
So there you go. Screen record it. So that way we're going to show you the Apple app kind of up in one of these corners here as he's running the locomotive to kind of show you some features about this. So go ahead and go into your operations mode, whichever you prefer, the standard or the multi-train.
Okay.
And then now when you're here, you can pull out that function bar, and that allows you an alternate way to access some of the functions like your headlight and stuff like that. But so how do you have all these wired up? I know you just plugged in the 21 pin. I hardwired mine with a PNP. So when you get into the lights, which one's FX3? What turns on with FX3? So you have FX3 as your front class lights.
Right.
Are your rear class lights on also, or that is separate function?
It's 5.
That's 5. Okay. Wait, that's FX5.
Yep.
Okay, so then
So it goes
4 is
3,
the
5,
motherboard.
7. Nope. I got them wired together with my truck lights.
Okay.
Because those are usually on at the same time, according to the Mopac engineers. So
Correct. Well,
so,
because and if you watch our YouTube series, the engine of record has the number boards illuminated, which is also usually where the engineer is. And that's where he's looking down and needs to see the ground move. And that's the whole purpose of these lights down here, folks, is that in the dark, if you're in an engine and you throttle up, if there's no light around, no reference except distant lights, they don't look like they're moving. So you could be moving very, very slow, but you certainly feel like you're moving because that cab is bucking and all over, but those wheels could be slipping. So the idea of the ground lights is so you can quickly take a peek outside, look down, see the ground moving to know whether I need to throw some sand down there, reduce the throttle, whatever the case is.
And this is the EMD2.
Okay, so you're using the 12-cylinder.
It's got it's the EMD2. It's got the 1245 or the 645 12-cylinder E, and the non-turbo, and then it's got the classic SoundTraxx Mopac RS3L bell or in horn.
Okay. Now the cool thing is that, like, and this is why I wanted you to record this screen, is that we go back to your other light functions there. You can actually rename these. So if you pull that menu out just a little bit further, there's your text box that you can type in and rename it. So the FX3 is your front class lights. He can type in the name, and we've shown you this in several different instances. And again, this is the Apple version of it. And I have the Android here in front of me. And we're going to show you some cool things about that here in just a moment. But yeah, once you rename it, there you go. And so you can see, for those of you watching on video, you can see that he's got the name renamed so that when he closes it out, it'll say front class lights. So now he doesn't have to remember the FX3 is my class lights, my FX5 is the rear class lights, and so on. He's going to label them right there.
And the reason I left those separate is, like, I watched your videos and stuff, and I wasn't real familiar with the classification lights and how those things work, but you wouldn't have both sets on unless you're running this. So if you're running this way, I wanted to be able to control those independently.
Yep.
So like right now, those would definitely be off, and this because this engine's going to go forward.
Yep. Correct.
And but I wanted to be able to turn them on, obviously, independently, so I could do that. But I also didn't have a problem with putting these together because they said, most of the guys said the number boards come on when and the truck lights are on at the same time on the control stand of the G15.
Well, when you're looking at my GP38, and I'll show you this, is that when I did that, when I actually do that, you see the front number boards light up and the ground lights and the truck lights.
Right.
So I mapped them intentionally the same way, but I can separate them later. Now,
and hopefully, folks, with training, I'll learn how to do that too.
Yeah, and it's not difficult to do. I'm going to go ahead and screen record here on the Android tablet because I'm going to show you a couple of things here. You can go ahead and mute your locomotive. So you can see this is an Android tablet. Now I haven't run either of my locomotives on the Android tablet yet, so you can see on the screen here, for those of you watching on video, the functions are not labeled, but you'll notice that there's a bunch of blanks. So when I go here to 0 to 15, you see F9 and F13 show to be unused. So they're just showing you the F9 and F13, and that's because I have that designed for just to be blank. And then same thing here. So I move stuff around. F9 is the grade crossing. Typically, I like to do that myself. I kind of like playing the air horn. And the real engineers don't push a button to make an automatic grade crossing sound.
Right. Not on these engine anyway.
Well, certainly not on these. Even the modern ones, they have the horn button, which opens up the valve. But anyway, so I like to do that myself. I don't personally use the coupler sounds because it's a timing thing, and I'd rather use the brakes. And so I use a lot more of the braking functions, stuff like that. But what I wanted to show you is yes, you guys saw this, the 2007 last episode, but I just finished up this Atlas B23-7, and much like what he did with this particular one. This model was originally equipped with a QSI, or with a, no, it wasn't with QSI, it was non-sound, but it had the QSI A-frame speaker assembly.
Right.
And rather than
Atlas Silver series.
yeah, the Atlas Silver series.
Yeah.
So rather than going in and reinventing the, let's go ahead, I'm going to connect to this. Now folks, this is the first time I've connected to this locomotive other than a quick test. So there's no settings, nothing's preset in it. You can even see on the screen here it says Blunami V1.0. But I'm going to go ahead and connect to it, and I'm going to mute it for a purpose here. So we're going to go to multi-train. It's going to quickly read all the CVs to make sure that the settings match. And this is going to be part of a video that we're releasing or just released, talking about getting started with Blunami. And so intentionally, I haven't done anything as far as doing the settings.
That's cool.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mute the locomotive just for the moment. But this came with that A-frame speaker, and you know, our 30 mil round speaker is rated for like 0.5 watt with a 1 watt peak. So I certainly could have used those, but I decided to try something different on this one. And I did grab the Scale Sound System speaker, and I grabbed the giant big box one he had, because he has two of them for that era type locomotives. He has the half moon round, and then he has the box, and it's supposed to replace the A-frame. So I was like, well, let's try that one. So I put it in there, and it fits just fine. And so that's what's actually in this locomotive. But like I said, I haven't done any settings or anything like that. So actually, if I uncouple these for a second, you'll notice that if I start moving, like say for example, I start moving forward, the locomotive instantly starts and instantly stops. And the GP38, because I do have some momentum, actually it's not fired up, but there is momentum set into it. Now, the really cool thing, and this is why I'm kind of getting into all this, is I'm going to go into my settings for my GP38, because I'm going to copy all my settings into the B23. So we're going to go in here to CV settings, and I'm going to see copy CVs to other loco. So I'm going to choose a loco to copy to, and this is the B23-7. And so before I do that, on my B roll here, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the rear class lights. Because what I want to show is I want to show that light
Get muted.
Get
lost power over here. So
no, that's fine.
I'll mute it back here in a second.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy, and when it's going through and copying, you'll notice that light gets dimmed. Same thing with the rear number boards. So we're going to go to my GP38. We're going to CV settings, copy CVs to other loco, B23-7. Note, everything will be copied except the address. But I haven't programmed an address into this yet. So we're going to go ahead and copy all. So now the screen, what it's doing is it's reading this CV and programming it here. And it's just flashing that information back to back. Now, I also know this is a GP38 and this is a U23, which is a GE product. So as it's reading, now that I've harassed Tom a little bit, you'll notice that these lights on the number boards and the class lights have actually dimmed. Because as it's going through and making those settings. Now, as I was saying, this is a GE, this is an EMD. And what's happening now is that as I go through, now it's function remapping. That's why F8 mute is no longer active, because I took the mute and moved it onto function 19. So that's telling me that's where it is. But even though I'm setting all this, what it's doing is it's matching the function mapping, it's matching my momentum settings, all my DDE, and any of those other things, volume levels, stuff like that I've done in this model, now matches to this. But how do I get the right prime mover? Well, we're going to go in here and fix that. So we're going to go ahead to sound settings, and we're going to go to main sounds, because this is the prime mover right there at the top. Oops, let's go back to, let's actually go to the GE unit, because that would probably help. Sound settings, main sounds, and you can see it says now that because of the way this one is set, it programmed this to a GEVO. We're going to go ahead and fix that. We're going to pick the FDL12, and it changes it right there. Done. Now we're going to go here and we're going to pick the bell here.
Yeah.
We're going to pick the, And so that's a good bell. But you can go through and make all your settings adjustments that are unique to the GE sound after you've copied everything. So even though this is a GE, it may set the CV123, which is my prime mover select, the same as it is here, but I can go fix it. So now in a matter of seconds, now I've got two locomotives that'll run together. So if I want to consist these locomotives, whoops, keep hitting the wrong button. So we're going to make my GP38 the lead. We're going to go ahead and pick him as consist B, and then we're going to make this as consist B, and this is the rear loco facing backwards. And so once we get this other locomotive fired up, turn on our headlights, make sure we're going in the forward direction, which I just realized if it's not facing forward, it messes with the direction. B, I want this facing backwards, rear loco. So now, as I start to move forward, oh, I know why. Because this locomotive has the brakes set. Because I had F8 as mute as an untouched decoder. So that was my fault. So now as I start to move forward, the locomotives are moving in perfect consist. So they have the same momentum settings. Now I'll have to go in and kind of play with it, but for the most part, they run just fine together. They're both Atlas models.
Right. 14-1, both 14-1 gear ratio.
Yep. And so they consisted well, and if I was to run them together, you never know the difference. And I did that through the app in a matter of seconds. And so rather than, hold on, before I do that, so when I add them to the consist here, we're going to again do consist B in this one. We're going to do consist B in this guy facing rearward. And there's a couple of cool things here. When we're running our locomotives, like I said, you've got they're consisted together, and then we can function set the brakes. And then what's really cool here is that we can push that button make lead, and then now suddenly this is the lead unit. So now when I'm moving in the forward direction, that's forward. So the app does a lot of that hard work for you behind the scenes, and that's one of the reasons why I love the Blunami. So, and then if I want to drop a helper, let's say I just take off the rear unit, he goes on, but if you'll notice the screen, my B23 is still in consist B, so I can then continue running as however I need to.
Wow.
So it's pretty impressive stuff, and it certainly makes running our trains a whole lot more fun and easy. And this is why I've really been pushing for the Blunami, because you can do all of this stuff just through the app. So
it definitely, for me, I switched to it because I talked to you guys at the National Train Show in St. Louis, the last one, and that's when the Blunami was just coming out or had been out, and you guys were there, and that's when I made the decision to switch to the Blunami. So I am ordering even my Athearn engines now. My new Athearns, I will order them DCC ready so I can put Blunamis in them. The ones I already have on order that have Tsunami 2, I'm just going to leave them that way, because it's basically the Blunami is the Tsunami 2 with the Bluetooth chip.
Yep.
And I still have all the same functions and all the same operability and flexibility with both decoders. So
yep, absolutely. So with that, we'll move on. We've talked about our projects. I've got a couple of pictures here. These were submissions from our photo contest for the installation. And we're very happy. We appreciate y'all's participation in that. It helps us. And we also like sharing off your work. I mean, you guys are obviously proud of your work. So first one here, you may recognize this because you have a similar model on the table right here. But this is a Walther's GP15 done by Stephen H. And he's actually installed a Blunami, and you guys should be able to see this on the screen. But he's got a Walther's GP15 that he's installed a Blunami in there and a SoundTraxx current keeper there on top of the motor under the long hood.
Yep.
And the picture we're showing actually shows the dynamic brake hatch removed so that you can see the decoder installation.
It's a plug and play 8.
PNP8, yep. The Blunami PNP8. So, and the one thing I like about that PNP8 is it makes it a little bit clean because you've got track pickup on both sides instead of trying to run the wires together and then run to another wire and then you're tucking all that inside, because when you have tight clearances and you've got motors and flywheels and all that stuff that can pinch, wires and things like that, you want to be careful and do your proper wire management.
Yeah, that board really works well. It's for Athearn, Atlas, Cotto, Walthers, pretty much anybody. Scale trains. If you want to upgrade your scale trains units and put a better decoder in there, you can get that PNP8 Blunami, put that in your SD40s.
We've got several videos on our YouTube channel that have shown that. So thanks to Steven for this submission. Like I said, he did a great job, and he's enjoying the Blunami. And then the next one I've got is from, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, Alan G. I know he's one of our friends north of the border. But he actually is doing a large-scale SD40-2 from USA Trains. And so what he's done is he's installed this Blunami BLU4408 in there. But the thing that's not showing in this picture is he's actually using a 4-cell battery. So he's doing battery on board for his outdoor railroad. And that's what Blunami really will allow you to do also, is because all you have to do is supply the Blunami with power. In this case, he's using a battery.
Right.
You use the free app on your phone or your smart device.
You're running trains.
And you're running trains in a matter of seconds.
He could put that thing on the table here and run it if you wanted to.
Yep, absolutely.
Or take it somewhere and program it. It wouldn't have to do anything with it. You wouldn't have to have any connection through the rails.
Correct. And that's where the onboard battery comes in. And I've got a couple of videos showing off some battery stuff on our personal YouTube channel, which at SoundTraxx, where I've done a ON3 RGS41 that is 100% battery power.
Wow.
Showing it off on a small section of track with no wires attached. Look, Ma, no wires.
Right. Well, and a guy I think about, who was one of the forerunners of, he used to beat up his tracks. One of the first guys in the Midwest that I knew, and you probably know Dave Davis. And Dave Davis did a lot of that. His track was where he had the cars where they were rocking back and forth like a branch line. This is something I could think about. Like you could really go to town and do it like Dave did on his branch line. His new, I think it's Minneapolis and St. Louis railroad that he has now.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And he could do something like that. I can only imagine the possibilities with that. So Blunami and then battery power for his trains.
Yep, absolutely. So it really does work well. But the one thing about these USA trains, and I don't know if it's really evident, I can see it, but I don't know how clear it is in the picture. But each of those trucks has the motor in it, and their trucks are at about 3.5 amps. So if you wire them up in parallel, collectively that'll exceed the 4 amps. So what you want to do is rewire them in series. So that way you stay below that 4 amps. And that ends up actually bringing it closer down to like 2.5 amps. So it is a really cool setup. So thanks to Alan, for sharing those with us. So with that, that's really everything we got to share and talk about today. I know we're just a little bit past the 30-minute mark, which is exactly where I wanted to be.
Good.
So really looking forward to Tom, you being here with us. Been a great asset and quick learner, so I will give you kudos on that regard. So guys, everything we're here to help you. We want you to enjoy your hobby, and so we try to do everything we can to make sure you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, problems, troubles, give him a call. He'll be here, and he'll be happy to do it for you and help you.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll ask this guy, or I'll look it up. But I'm not going to make it up. I'm going to find you the right answer. I want you to enjoy your purchase from SoundTraxx and enjoy your model railroading and your experience with the trains.
Yep, absolutely. So, and that's one of the things, because we actually do answer our phones. We actually do respond to our emails. So you don't have to worry about putting it into some sort of customer service black hole that we're going to ignore you, because again, we're modelers. We want to make sure you're enjoying the hobby and enjoying your SoundTraxx products as much as we are. So
absolutely, we're here 5 days a week most of the time, and except holidays. Some holidays, some holidays we're open, but you don't have to look on our website and find out when our support group is ready to go. We're here for the whole 8 hours. So.
And I did forget, when we were talking about the pictures, I forgot my segue. When we're looking at those installation pictures, we actually have a series on our YouTube channel called Rehab My Loco. And with the world going on right now with import challenges and things like that are going on, some people may be pulling out older stuff to upgrade it. And I mean, this Atlas GP38 was probably, 20 years ago? And then this is probably getting close to 15, 20 years ago.
And my next project is another, of course, surprise, another GP15, but it's a 2010 Athearn Genesis release. It's getting the same treatment. It's getting the Blunami and it's getting the light treatment. But like George is saying, it's rehabbed itself.
Yep.
It's an older model. It's hard to believe it's 15 years old now.
I know. So if you go back to our YouTube channel, watch the Rehab My Loco series, it'll show you how to take these locomotives apart. Now, we're using an Athearn SD40 as the quote-unquote guinea pig for this particular project, but the Athearn Genesis comes apart the same way, and these models here are virtually identical as well. The only difference is, of course, maybe this slight design, like Athearn has a slightly rounded gear tower housing, whereas or retainer, whereas the Atlas is a square.
Right.
But essentially, it's all the same. So the good news is starting with that, you can kind of get a feel for what it takes to take a locomotive apart. Part 3, which we're editing right now as I'm recording this, so it's maybe posted very soon around the time this podcast is done or is uploaded. But part 3 is when I go into this Athearn SD40 and I show you how to add all the lights. So I show you how to add illuminated number boards. And I've actually give you a glimpse into this model here, this B23, because Atlas does a light assembly where they have the full light casting where it's the headlight and then the number boards are on the side. And I show you how to cut that up so that you can separate the control of all those lights.
Like it's all one clear piece as it comes from the factory.
Right. So we cut it. So I cut it up and made it into smaller pieces, and then stuck each with their own LED. And I show you how to do that in part 3. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already. And if you're not, what are you waiting for? We've got lots of great information on there. As a matter of fact, part of Tom's training is we're making him watch videos. So he's got to suffer through me 8 hours a day.
It's great. I learn. Everybody needs to learn something. You know, nobody knows everything. I'll tell you what.
Well,
it's a wealth of information. It's easy to get to, and it's I programmed this thing like 35 minutes ago.
Yep. After I harassed you over it.
Right, but I went and looked at the video. I cheated. I looked at the video just to make sure I got it right. And then, of course, I backed it too far and then had to restart it. But then it started to, it got back under control.
Yeah. But you make a good point, and I want to stress this to everybody out there. Nobody's an expert the first time. And so we're going to help you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. In our opinion, there's no stupid questions because the question helps you learn. And so call us, ask us. We're here to help. And Tom's eager to learn it all. And so test them. If you guys want to try them out, test them, give them a shout, and we'll go from there. So I think that covers everything now that I looked at my bullet points. So I just forgot to mention that YouTube video because I think that's pretty important to watch, especially for somebody, like you said, not everybody's an expert day one. So this gives them something that you can learn how to do the work that we're doing here. So anyway, looking forward to that. So first off, Tom, welcome aboard. Looking forward to having you here.
Glad to be here.
For all you folks out there listening, we appreciate you taking the time to tune in. We hope this has been entertaining and informative for you because ultimately, like I said, our goal is to help you enjoy your hobby. And if it takes a little bit of knowledge to get you there, we're here to help. So anyway, with that, this is the end of the SoundTraxx Soundbites podcast. I did have it written down. This is season 2, episode Unlucky 13.
Oh boy.
Oh, and you're here. Uh-oh, what does that tell us?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I wish I'd known that. I'd have held out like Graham did one extra week.
I forgot to mention that at the very beginning, but that's okay.
Right.
Notes are just there for notes. We just talk and have fun.
Right. I'm not superstitious anyway. I like the Cubs. So.
There you go. So anyway, Train Talk from Milepost 141. Thank you guys for watching and listening wherever you are, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. So from that, goodbye. Have a good night.
Bye.